Sometimes being famous isn't all that's cracked up to be. Sometimes you gotta die to be famous. And that someone is the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short. Today we're gonna go over a case and figure out who's the main suspect of her murder.
Ladies and gentlemen of all ages, boys and girls, thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Angry Meat Production. We appreciate you coming in and letting us be a part of your lives week in and week out. We hope to do our best to present you with something that your eardrums delight in. Whether you're looking at us on YouTube or Rumble, or listening to us on Spotify, Google, or Anchor, or any of the other podcast services that we are currently on or trying to get on. We thank you. And if you don't mind, at the end of every episode, stop by, leave us a comment, leave us a like. If it asks for 5 stars, we'll take 5 stars, even if you don't like us. 5 stars are what it's all about. With that being said, we hope you enjoy our attempt to make our advocation our vocation. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin. We here at Angry Me Production want to thank our sponsor, Mobile Notary Mindy. She's certified with the National Notary Association. She's also bonded and E&O insured. She offers a wide range of services including wills, powers of attorney, medical documents, healthcare proxies, living wills, certification of trust, assignment of personal property, HIPAA waivers, advanced healthcare directives, and 99 verification. You can find her on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Mobile Notary Mindy. You can also visit her webpage at TexasMobileNotaryMindy.com. That's TX, MobileNotaryMindy.com. Thank you so much and enjoy the show.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Yesterday we're gonna go over the Black Dahlia, and this is an interesting case. It's gruesome how she passed, and it's more one of those cases. It's a cold case. It's never been. They never found out who the suspect was that killed her. But there's a main one that I want everybody to take a look at a little bit deeper. It's weird how the other suspects didn't really. It didn't really like balance out, but this one gentleman did. Now let's go over Miss Short. Now, Elizabeth Short was born July 29th, 1924, in Hyde Park section of Boston, Massachusetts. Third of $5 of Cleo Alvin Short Jr. and his wife, Phoebe May Short. Now, after a while, during the crash of 1929 in the stock market, Phoebe believed that her husband had killed himself. And other than that, the mother did everything she could to take care of her daughters. Now, believing her husband to be deceased, Phoebe, Short's mother, began working as a bookkeeper and support the family. Now, as Elizabeth Short had was troubled by bronchitis and severe asthma attacks. Short underwent lung surgery at age 15, after which doctors suggested she relocate to a milder climate to prevent further respiratory problems. Her mother sent her to spend winters with the family in Miami, Florida for the next 3 years. Short dropped out of Medford High School during this time frame, during her sophomore year. Now, in late 1942, Short's mother received a letter of apologies for her presumed deceased husband. That's Cleo. which revealed that he was, in fact, living in a new life in California. In December, at age 18, Short relocated to Valley Joe, California, to live with her father, whom she not seen since the age of 6. At the time, he was working at a nearby Maria Island Naval Shipyard in San Francisco Bay. But by that time, arguments between Short and her father led to her moving out in January 1943. Short took a job at a base exchange at Camp Cook, now Vanceburg Space Force Base near Lompoc, California. Bel- uh, bel- Briefly living with a U.S. Air Force sergeant who reportedly abused her. Uh, she left Lompoc in the mid 1943 and moved to Santa Barbara, where she was arrested in September 23rd, 1943, for being drunk at a local bar while underage. Juvenile authorities sent her back to Massachusetts, where she returned instead to Florida, making only occasional visits to her family near Boston. While in Florida, Short met Major Matthew Mitchell, Michael, sorry, Gordon Jr., a decorated Army Air Force officer in the 2nd Air Command Group, who was trained for deployment in Southeast Asia Theater in World War II. Short later told friends that Gordon had written a proposal marriage while he was recovering from injuries from a plane crash in India. She accepted his offer, but Gordon died in a second plane crash on August 10th, 1945. In July 1946, Short relocated to Los Angeles to visit an Army Air Force Lieutenant Joseph Gordon Flecky, an acquaintance from Florida, who was stationed at the Naval Reserve Air Base in Long Beach. Short spent the last 6 months of her life in Southern California, mostly in the Los Angeles area. Shortly after her death, she been working as a waitress and renting a room behind the Florin Garden nightclub at Hollywood Boulevard. She had been variously described and depicted as an aspiring would-be actress. According to some sources, she did, in fact, have an aspiration to be a film star, though she had not known any acting jobs or credits to her name. Prior to her murder on January 9th, 1947, Short returned to her home in Los Angeles after a brief trip to San Diego with Robert Red Manley, a 25-year-old married salesman she had been dating. Manley stated that he dropped Short off at a Belmore hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and that Short was to meet her sister, who was visiting from Boston. After in that afternoon, by some accounts, staff of the Belmore recalled having seen Short using the lobby telephone shortly after she was allegedly seen by patrons of the Crown Grill Cocktail Lounge in 754 South Olive Street, approximately 3/8 of a mile away from Belmore. Later that day, on the morning of January 15th, 1947, Short's naked body, severed in two pieces, was found in a vacant lot on the west side of South Norton Avenue, midway between Coliseum Street and West 39th Street, in the neighborhood of Limert Park. At the time, Limert Park was largely undeveloped. Short's severed, mutilated body was completely severed at the waist and drained of all of its blood, leaving her skin a pale white. Now, all was during this time frame, the person that actually did find her thought she was a mannequin. A little bit of tidbit. It was in a documentary that I found about the Black Dahlia. Now, medical examiners determined that she had been dead for around about 10 hours to the prior discovery, leaving her death to either sometime between January 14th and the early morning hours of January 15th. The body apparently had been washed by the killer. Short's face was then slashed with a Glasgow smile, which is basically a smile from here to the ears. She had several cuts in her thighs and breasts, also, and there were entire portions of the flesh that had been sliced away. The lower half of her body was positioned a foot away from the upper, and her intestines had been tucked neatly between her buttocks. The corpse had been posed with her hands over her head, her eyebrows bent at a right angle, and her legs spread apart. Now, the Los Angeles Herald Express reporter Aggie Underwood was among the first to arrive and took several photos of the corpse and crime scene. Near the bodies, detectives located a heel print on the ground amidst a tire tracks and a cement sack containing watery blood that was found nearby. Now, during the autopsy, a short body that was performed on January 16th, 1947, by Frederick Newbar, the Los Angeles County coroner. Newbar's autopsy report stated that Short was 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighing 115 pounds, and had light blue eyes, brown hair, and badly decayed teeth. There were leisure marks on her ankles, wrist, neck, and a irregular laceration with superficial tissue loss on her right breast. Newbar also noted superficially lacerations on her right forearm, left upper arm, and lower left side of her chest. The body had been cut completely in half by a technique taught in the 1930s called the I am going to let Stephanie Hawking do this.
Hemicorporectomy.
Hemicorporectomy. She said it right. Anyways, the lower half of her body. Sorry for laughing, but that was some words. They're big ones. I didn't pay enough to say big words sometimes. The lower half of her body had been removed by transecting the lumbar spine between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, thus severing the intestines at a Stephanie Hawkins. You're going to have to do this again.
Duodenum.
Duodenum. Newbar's report noted very little bruising along the insected line, suggested that it had been performed after death. Another gaping laceration measuring 4.25 inches along long ran longitude from the umbilus and public region. We are getting into the doctor terms.
Suprapubic region.
Suprapubic region. Okay. The lacerations on each side of the face, which extended from the corner of the lips, were measured 3 inches on the right side of the face and 2.5 on the left. The skull had not been fractured, but there was bruising noted in the front and right side of her scalp, and a small amount of bleeding in the subbar Stephanie Hawking? Subarachnoid space on the right side, consisting with the blows to the head. The cause of death was determined to be sudden bleeding into the tissues of the brain from the lacerations to her face and the shock of the blows to her head and face. Newbar noted that Short's anal cavity had dilated to 1.775 inches, suggesting that she might have been raped. Samples were taken from her body to test to presence of sperm, but results never came back positive. Short was identified after her fingerprints were sent to the FBI. Her fingerprints were on file From her 1943 arrest, immediately following Short's identification, reports from William Randolph Hearst, Los Angeles Examiner, contacted her mother, Phoebe Short, in Boston, told her that her daughter had uh, won a beauty contest. It was only after prying so much personal information as they could from Phoebe that the reporters revealed that her daughter had been in fact dead. Oh my Lord. No. Wow. 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 That that is some shady, 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 shady stuff there, buddy. But I don't care if it's 1940s. There's some things you just don't do. The Examiner, Los Angeles Examiner, also offered to pay Phoebe's airfare and accommodations if she would travel to Los Angeles to help the police with the investigation. That was yet another ploy, since the newspaper kept her away from police and other reporters to protect its scoop. The Examiner and another Hearst newspaper, the Herald Express, later sanitized the case. The one the Examiner article described the black tailor suit Short had been seen wearing as a tight skirt. Okay, they changed the media stuff. Sensitized. Okay, there we go. A tight skirt and a sheer blouse. The media nicknamed her the Black Dahlia, describing her as a adventuress who prowled Hollywood Boulevard. Additional newspaper reports, such as one publisher in the Los Angeles Times on January 17th, deemed the murder as a sex fiend slaying. News never lies in any decade, huh? And people are so surprised that the media lies, and this one case, it just shows that it's not just this time frame. Media's always been, they just want to sell, and make money. But it is a business. But okay. On January 21st, 1947, a person claimed to be Short's killer replaced a phone call to the office of Jane Richardson, the editor of the Examiner, congratulating Richardson on a newspaper coverage of the case, and stated he planned to eventually turn himself in, but not before allowing police to shoot him further. Additionally, the caller told Richardson to expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail. In January 24th, a suspect Mandley envelope was discovered, addressed to the Los Angeles Examiner and other Los Angeles papers, with individual words that had been cut and pasted from newspaper clippings. Additionally, a large message on the face of the envelope read, "Here's Dahlia's belongings. Letter to follow." The envelope containing Short's birth certificate, business cards, photographs, names written on pieces of paper, and address books with the name Mark Hansen embossed on the cover. The packet had been carefully cleaned with gasoline, which I'm surprised it didn't go up in flames. The reason why I say that is because the basic fact of that time for everybody smoked. But anyways, similar to Short's body, which led police to suspect the packet had been sent directly by her killer. Despite its efforts to clean the packet, several partial fingerprints were lifted from the envelope and sent to the FBI for testing. However, the prints were composed to transit and thus could not be properly analyzed. The same day the packet was received by the Examiner, a handbag and a black stiletto shoe were reported to have been seen on top of the garbage can in an alley a short distance from Norton Avenue, 2 miles from the crime scene. The items were recovered by the police, but they had also been wiped clean with gasoline, destroying any fingerprints. March 14th, an apparent suicide note scrawled in pencil on a bit of paper was found tucked into the shoe in a pile of men's clothing by Ocean Edge at the Foot Breeze Avenue of Vincent. The note read, "To whom it may concern, I have waited for police to capture me for the Black Dahlia killing, but have not. I'm, n- I am too much of a coward to turn myself in, so this is the best way out for me. I couldn't help myself for that or this. Sorry, Mary." The pile of clothes was first seen in the beach caretaker, who reported the discovery of to the lifeguard captain John Dillon. Dillon immediately notified Captain L.E. Christen of West Los Angeles Police Station. The clothes included a coat and trousers of blue Harbinger bone tweed, the brown and white T-shirt and white jockey shorts, tan socks, and tan masculine leisure shoes, size about 8. The clothes were given no clue about the identity of their owner. Police quickly determined Mark Hansen, the owner of the address book found in the pocket, as a suspect. Hansen was a wealthy local nightclub and theater owner, and an acquisition at the worst home Short had, whose home Short had stayed in with friends. According to some sources, Hansen also confirmed that the purse and shoes discovered in the alleys were in fact Short's, and thought Short's friend and roommate told investigators that Short had recently rejected sexual advances from Hansen, and suggested it was also a potential motive for him to kill her. However, he was cleared as a suspect in the case. In addition to Hansen, the Los Angeles Police Department interviewed 150 men in ensuing weeks whom they believed to be potential suspects, mainly who had been one of the last people to see Short alive. Was also investigated, who cleared of suspicion after passing numerous polygraph examinations. By the way, little trivia note: the polygraph was actually made by the person that actually uh, wrote the Wonder Woman comic books. Fun fact. Anyways, police also interviewed several persons found listed in Hansen's address book, including Martin Lewis, who had been acquaintance of Short. Lewis was able to provide an alibi for the date of Short's murder because he was in Portland, Oregon, visiting his dying father-in-law. A total of 750 investigators from the LAPD and other departments worked on the case during the initial stages, including 400 sheriff deputies and 250 California State Patrol officers. Various locations were searched for the potential evidence, including storm drains through Los Angeles, abandoned structures, and various sites along the Los Angeles River. But the search yielded no further evidence. City Councilman Lloyd G. Davis posted a $10,000 equivalent to $131,058 in 2022. Reward for information leading police to the Short's killer. After the announcement of the reward, various persons came forward with confessions, most of which police dismissed as false. Several of the false confessions were charged with obscuring justice. On January 26th, another letter had been received by the examiner, and this time handwritten, which read, "Here it is, turning in Wednesday, January 29th, 10 a.m. Had my fun with at police, Black Dahlia Avenger." The letter also named a location at which the supposed killer would turn himself in. Police waited at the location on the morning of January 29th, but the alleged killer did not appear. Instead, at 1 p.m., the examiner's office received another hand-cut, pasted letter, which read, "Had changed my mind. You would not give me a square deal. Dahlia killing was justified." The graphic narrative of the crime and the subsequent letters received by the examiner had resulted in a media circus surrounding Short's murderer. Both location and national publications covered the Shorts heavily and mainly, which reprinted sensational reports suggested that Short had been tortured for hours prior to her death. The information, however, was false, yet police allowed the reports to circulate as it concealed Short's true case of the death, and it hid the cerebral hemorrhaging from the public. Further reports about her personal life were publicized, including details of her alleged decline in Hanson's sexual advances. Additionally, a stripper who was an acquaintance of Short's told police that she was likely to get guys worked up over her, but she'll leave them hanging dry. This led some reporters, nicknamed Herald Express, Belleville Means, and detectives to look into the possibility of Short as a lesbian and begun questioning employees and patrons of gay bars in Los Angeles. This claim, however, remained unsustained. Gosh, some words I just can't get.
Unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated. Thank you. The Herald Express also received several letters from the postponed killer. Again, made cuts and paste clippings of one of which says, "I give up Dahlia killing if I get 10 years. Don't try to find me." Now, on February 1st, Los Angeles Daily News reported the case had run into a stone wall with no new leads for investigators to pursued. The examiners continued to run stories on the murder and an investigation, which the front page news for 35 days following discovery of the body. When interviewed, lead investigator Jack Donahue told the press that he believed Short's murder had taken place in a remote building shack outside of Los Angeles, and that her body was transported into the city where it was disposed of. Based on the persistent cuts and dissection of Short's body, the LAPD looked into the possibility that the murderer had been a surgeon, doctor, or someone with medical knowledge. In the mid-February 1947, the LAPD served a warrant to University of South Florida Medical School, which was located near the site where the body had been discovered, requesting a complete list of the program's students. The university agreed as long as the students' identity remained private. Background checks were conducted, but yielded no results. By the spring in 1947, Short's murders had been getting a cold case with few new leads. Sergeant Finis Brown, one of the lead detectives on the case, blamed the press for compromising the investigation through journalists' probing of details and unverified reporting. Yeah, I believe that one. In September of 1949, a grand jury converted to discuss inadequacies in the LAPD homicide unit based on their failures to solve numerous murders, especially those of women and children, in previous several years. They had so many people working on this thing, and they didn't have our DNA scans. I mean, there was no fingerprints, no nothing. They didn't even have the blood of the freaking victim on hand because it was drained. They didn't have anything on this case. But in the aftermath of the grand jury, further investigations had done on Short's past. The detectives traced her movements between Massachusetts, California, and Florida, and also interviewed people that knew her in Texas and New Orleans. However, the interviews yield no useful information in the murder. Now, here's the suspects. We're going to do a small suspects on this, but we're going to go in the one main suspect that we're going to go over. God, I'm talking's not really good right now. So, anyways, now New York Times published Norman Cannon, who biographer Donald Wolfe claims. Wow. Okay. Apparently, Donald Wolfe claims of impregnating Short, but there is no evidence of her actually being conceiving a child. But anyways, Leslie Dillon was one of the suspects. Joseph A. Dumas, R.D. Lane, a.k.a. Jeff Connors, Mark Hansen, Francis E. Sweeney, Wood Girton, Bugsy Siegel. Orson Welles, uh, George Nodal, and Robert M. Red Mantley, and Patrick S. O'Reilly and Jack Anderson. Now, the main suspect that we're going to go over on this one is George Huddle. Now, the stuff that makes this kind of interesting, Huddle did graduate Berkeley Pre-Med in January 1932. He immediately, after enrolling in the medical school, University of California, San Francisco, and received his medical degree. So he was a doctor. So he could have done those precisions that described in the autopsy to those specifics. Now, he was a fondness of partying, drinking, and womanizing, so he was kind of distraught. And yes, those people are kind of distraught. Now, he was a suspect of murder and rape, but let's get into why I believe that he was much of a suspect. Let's get down here. Now, in late 1949, Huddle's teenager daughter, Tamara, accused him of incestuous sexual abuse and impregnating her. He acquired, after a widely publicized trial, 2 witnesses that alleged testified against the abuse at the trial, and a third recanted her early testimony and refused to come forward, with one of the theories being that Huddle threatened her into silence. Tomorrow's testimony was perceived as contrary and attention-seeking, which it probably wasn't. Huddle came to the police stations with the suspect being a suspect of Elizabeth Short murder in 1949 after the sexual abuse trial, knowing knowing that the suspect was a criminal, sex criminal in the area being investigated for the cert case, and it had to come out in the trial that Tamara had allegedly claimed her father was the Black Dahlia killer. Hundel's medical degree also aroused suspicions, giving the hypothesis that whoever bisected Short's body had a degree in surgical skills. At least 8 witnesses claimed firsthand knowledge of a 1946 relationship between Short and Handel, then back in Los Angeles from China. Wow. The further details of investigation came to light only in 2003 when a George Huddle Black Dahlia file was discovered in the archives in Los Angeles County Court District. The file revealed that in 1950, Huddle had been the suspect of the Dahlia murders. His Hollywood residence was electronically bugged by an 8-man LAPD task force between 1915 and March 27th, 1950. The DA tapes recorded him saying, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia. They can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead. They thought there was something fishy. Anyways, now they may have figured it out. Killed her. Maybe I did kill my secretary." So this little tidbit right here was also in the interview as a suspect during the 1949 murder of Lewis Spring, the Green Twig murderer. Though the evidence to support this accusation was not publicly available until July 2018. Wow, it took a long time. In October 1949, Holland's name was mentioned in a formal written report to the grand jury as one of the 5 prime suspects for the Short murder, but none of the named suspects were submitted to the grand jury for consideration for an indictment, as the investigation was still ongoing. Anyways. Reaction after Huddle's death in 1999, his son, Steve Huddle, a former LAPD homicide detective, started investigating his father as a suspect to the Elizabeth Short murder. and has written several books on the subject. Now, the son actually, that up until his, I don't know if he's actually dead or not. Let me see if he is still alive. I think there's a photo of him just recently, so I think he's still alive. Yeah, he's 82, so he's still alive. But he's written a lot of crime stories and documentations and everything. Now, as I was going over this case, looking at documentaries on it and everything, I really think George Huddle did it. I think his son did the due diligence and found up all the information that he needed. But honestly, it's hard to prosecute it. It's more or less just to let society know that they figured out the case. But honestly, I think he did it. And it just, going over this case, it just goes to show that our time frame, and this is just me speaking my opinion, our time frame of the media going out and creating their own story and hurting a case like this, which this is a hard case only because of the basic fact that there is no information almost at all, of only like tidbits to follow on the case of where she was last located. Uh, it is, I mean, it's right that the murder took place in a different location and then dropped off at another location. That's another reason why it's one of those cases that it didn't, you couldn't find evidence very well of, like, a suspect, basically. Saying that, hopefully a couple more years we can actually figure out who killed her. But George Hoodle, I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, I think he did it. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.